Hello everybody and a warm welcome. We have got a special ODS for you. We are talking Juki, the G220, an exceptional sewing machine with everything that you would expect from the Juki, the quality that comes with the Juki brand, the fact that it's a machine built to last, the stitch quality, and I am so conscious of the fact, everything I said, because I always promised myself when I came to the craft store, I'm not a shopping TV presenter. I don't want to sound like a shopping TV presenter, but it genuinely, everything I mentioned with this machine stands the test of time. It is a very good machine. It really is, and I mean that. Now, I've got to tell you, we've just gone live, and the stock's obviously been live just before the show. We've lost 10% of the stock already. That is how busy we are. Can I introduce you to a very good friend of mine and someone I've had the pleasure of working a lot with, is our Gary, an absolute fountain of knowledge.
Thank you very much. Good evening, I should say.
Evening,
for once,
Gary.
it's usually
Yes,
good morning, but no, good evening. How are you?
I'm really well. Now, we're getting busy,
good.
and one thing to point out, and I just want to mention this to anyone channel hopping or non-crafters home, you might not necessarily be aware, it's really hard to get hold of machines at the moment.
Oh, sewing machines across the board are very, very difficult. I think just during, obviously, lockdown, the pandemic, it causes chaos everywhere on that side. But sometimes there's good things and bad things out of everything, isn't there? Yeah. And the advantage, I think, for ourselves on here, where people have been indoors, obviously not going to work, the sewing industry at the moment is absolutely, it has just been booming throughout the whole duration of the pandemic. So because of that, the sewing industry is a lot busier, so therefore machines have been selling a lot more. Also, because of people who've been sewing a lot more at home, they've been getting their tired machines out. There may be a machine they've brought, and just sort of that would do at the time. And they're doing more sewing. They're realising maybe the machines they've got are not quite good enough for the job. Yeah. Something also investing in a nice new machine to make life easier, but also with not going on holidays, we're restricted a bit more now being at home. So therefore people are upping the quality and therefore investing more. And once they're realising now, actually, I'm going to invest in a nice machine, you're going to end up using it more because it allows you more flexibility, more playing around, different variety of fabrics. Also, there's no frustration, and we all find that painful just when you're sitting in front of something, whatever tool it is, whether it's a sewing machine, whether it's, I don't know, a drill or something like that. If it's not working properly, it doesn't do the job properly. So frustrating. It really is.
Now, I've got to tell you, the time is just us having a chat, introducing the show. We're now at 20% of the stock.
20%
so
on that.
Really busy for this one-day special. Things to point out with the craft store, we have got a special price on this. So you're saving £83, and as a bundle, you're getting the platform too, which make a huge difference, especially working on larger projects. Now, if you were to buy this table by itself, because you can buy it separately, let's say if you were to buy the machine without the table and then get this separately, it would be $79.99 just for that table alone. You've also got your Flexi Payments as well, so you've got 3 Flexi Payments, as opposed to having, say, if you're going onto High Street and having to pay for it all right now, here at the craft store, interest-free, you can spread the payments over 3 months. So $85.95.99 is a price, but your first Flexi payment, $298.66, a lot more digestible for an exceptional machine. What's the difference between the Juki G220 and, say, a domestic machine?
Right, well, first of all, again, it is a domestic machine, but it's a high quality, a high level, which people are expecting now from Juki. Yeah. With the machines that we've brought on over the time on that, we've had some fun with some overlockers. We've obviously got our long arm machines as well. So you can go as far as you want on creativity and the finishing, but what people also stepping back, they just want that basic quality. They're missing out on that basic quality. And I think we have mentioned it before, where people have come from an old machine. We're talking sort of 30, 40, 50-year-old machine. And it's lasted that long because it's constructed very well, full metal construction in there. And they've moved on to a new machine. A new machine may do more, but it doesn't mean it's built as well. So sometimes they've been sacrificing quality for different stitches on their new machine, but then realising when they want to do some soft furnishings, or just enjoy using a nice smooth machine, they've lost that. Where the G series, the G220, this is the first series within the Juki range where we've got the industrial feed system. So again, you say like domestic use, but really with the upholstery, the industrial features in the machine, it does step it that next step above that.
And what kind of power are we talking with this machine?
DC powered motor. So you've got a very, very smooth, very, very strong powered motor. But the nice thing about with that, even when you're sewing at a slow speed, you've got full penetration power to the needle. So you're not making a big run up, and that's when you obviously can cause problems, breaking needles, or even when you're trying to help your fabrics through. With this machine, we just haven't got to do that. So you've got a nice selection of stitches on here for all your utility, quilting, crafting. You've even got the alphabet on there as well.
Oh, that's good.
But the nice thing about it is whether I'm doing soft furnishing, whether I'm doing silks, satins, whether I'm then doing creative quilting, patchwork, the machine is going to do it absolutely no problems at all.
So I say, Gary, we've done a lot of shows together.
Indeed,
I really do enjoy working with you, and I've learned a lot. I've tried to soak this up. So anyone at home, and I understand this is a considered purchase, so please, and I really do mean this, we've got a lot in baskets. If there is anything, and I mean absolutely anything on your mind, get in touch with us. Now, live show, email in, studio@thecraftstore.com. Gary will, 99% of the time he'll have an answer. If he doesn't, we'll go away and try and find an answer to that question. But things Gary's taught me, so, because I remember asking you, if I'm going to look at a sewing machine, what are the things, working with Gary in the past, I said to him, what are things you look for in a sewing machine? You told me it's the smoothness, the sound.
That's it.
Also, what's underneath as well, and that's important with the Juki, it's the build quality underneath.
It very, very much so. It's straight away, sort of with people when they come into the shop, it's sort of, they look at the stitches. They look, oh, I don't want that many stitches. Pop the lid down, don't worry about that. The first thing to look at is what the machine can do on a basic level. So how strong is it? How reliable is it? How well is it? How just nice is it to use on there? And we've had it many times where you've got machines that end up bouncing around the table.
Can we hear it? Can we see it next?
Yep. So using the machine, let's get it set up nice and quickly on there. So first of all, it sets up like any conventional machine on there. So winding the bobbin. So bobbin just pops onto the bobbin winder on top, and then it's all arrowed and numbered, so it's very simple to follow. So we're just going to go through, and then the dotted lines for winding the bobbin, we have number 1, 2, number 3, it just pulls round, wraps around the bobbin, or the correct way, which on all machines you've got a little hole in the bobbin, you just poke the thread through, and then when we then engage the bobbin winder on this one, it automatically declutches the needle for me, so I've got no clutch mechanisms to mess around with. Put my foot down, it will then wind. We do, in all of our accessory bits and pieces, which I'll show you in a minute, we do get our spool caps, so I'm going to just pop a small spool cap on there to stop the reel from moving and getting trapped. And I won't do it without trapping the thread. There. So then basically once it's full, the machine itself, you can either disconnect it whenever you like, or when the bobbin's full it will automatically disconnect itself on there. So very simple, very similar to what we use already on machines, but just takes it that one step simpler. Drop-in bobbin system, full rotary system. So the nice thing about that, it's very smooth, but also it's 100% jam-proof, it's fully self-lubricating, it really looks after itself.
Wow. I mean, that's important because you can pay serious money on servicing a machine.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's some machines that sort of you can go quite fragile, or it's sort of weaker components in there. And yes, it may be you think it's a saving at the beginning, and it's a lesser of a machine, sort of. But once you start then having to replace parts, or it's not doing, or it's chewing fabrics, and it's wasting money for you, that's not an investment anymore. It ends up costing you more in the long run on there. So, drop-in bobbin. Just pop the bobbin in, and number 1, number 2. Number 3, it's all arrowed and numbered again, so it's very simple to follow. Round, 2, 3, cuts off, and again I'm just ended with a tail. So that's. And
you're doing this back to front, effectively. You'll think the machine, normally you'd be in front of the machine, but Gary's reaching around and still able to thread up with that ease, and that's a huge compliment.
So no little holes, thank you, yeah, so no little holes to thread through, nothing I've got to try and get in there and line up at all, and because it's all arrowed, even from here at the side of it, I can clearly see how it's marked. And the same as with the top threading as well, very clearly seen number 1, 2, 3, so through the tensions, under the check spring, over the take-up lever, behind the guide, and then we do have the built-in needle threader as well, which is a lever just on the side. I'm going to do it from the back, but it just comes down, it twists a tiny little hook through the eye of the needle. I hook the thread, release, it takes that loop, to the back, I just pull the tail through, and there we are, ready to go.
Lovely. I think first and foremost, Gary, should we just hear the machine? Because this is something you've taught me to do, to hear the smoothness and see the quality of the stitch. You're going to be, I know most of us will be aware of the quality you get with Juki, and it really is that kind of gold standard when it comes to sewing machines. So wait till you hear this.
And the sound of it, you say, is very important. And the difference is, it's just, when I'm sewing slow, I'm just going through 2 layers of fabric. Obviously, this, for any machine, shouldn't be any issue whatsoever.
Yeah.
I've got full variable speed foot control, but I've got my foot flat to the floor at the moment, and it's still only sewing at a sort of well, this is about 100 stitches a minute. It goes up to 900 stitches a minute, and I can then graduate that with the lever on the front of the machine, so I can set to a maximum speed. But then once I have got the speeds set higher, as you can see, from 100 stitches to 900 stitches,
it purrs.
No vibration. It's not suddenly started bouncing and moving, and that's what we find. As far as a build quality goes, if it starts changing sounds, rattling, or the machine starts vibrating the faster you go, one thing you know, there's not enough stability there. Second of all, obviously that's going to be causing damage. It's causing vibration through the machine as well. So once
underneath our machine, what have we got? Is it
we've got a full metal chassis inside.
See, that's from an engine, and you know a lot about the engineering side of things.
Well, thankfully, I've been involved with the engineering in there. So we've been with Juki now. Well, the company themselves is over 80 years old, so we've been producing domestic machines, believe it or not, longer than industrial machines, but people know us more for our industrial. But on our domestic side, we do put those heavy-duty features in there as well, because you're not using it for business, or you can use it for business, but if you're not, why have poor quality? Why lose out on that? But also, why make life more difficult? So, and it's the good thing with this as well is, say, even though say how smooth, how quiet, but the control is there. So it's very, very simple. The full box feed system, the industrial feed system, so I don't have to help it. Tell us a little bit about
that, Gary, for anyone who's not familiar with that. What makes that so special?
So what makes it special now, it's one of the things where I'm going to have to do my sort of the hand impressions again on here to sort of to show you what it's like.
Please do.
So as we can see with a piece of fabric, with a normal domestic feed system, it's what they call an elliptical feed system. So the feed comes up and touches, and it's on like an elliptical cam system. An industrial or box feed system basically comes up and it's on a straight cam system. So when it touches the fabric, it travels the full length of the feed and then drops, comes across, pops up. And so therefore, if I've actually got then lumps and bumps and sort of going undulating, it will grip it beginning and after the lump, where an elliptical feed, it will catch it so far, then miss it. And that's why when you're at home, sometimes you have to push your fabrics through and then it sticks and the stitches stay a different length, or your machine starts banging, or that's when there's more chance of breaking a needle. As soon as you start doing that, really you should stop using it, is because once you start forcing something under your machine, it doesn't really want to do it, and that's obviously can cause a lot of problems. Obviously breaking needles and things like that is never going to be good, and safety reasons as well. So
another big part of the Juki is the power element, because some machines struggle, especially when you're working with tougher fabrics, so the heavy duty leathers, vinyls, if you're doing upholstery work, this is where, and you might have a machine at home and you know exactly what we're talking about. So if you've got a machine that you do struggle with, you've had for a while, maybe the build quality is starting to let you down now, it's making a lot of weird noises, rather than getting your machine serviced and enduring with it, have you had your eye on a Juki? And I've got to point out, Juki as a brand, the quality that you get. Now this machine is made by Juki, so you get all the quality that is associated with that, but the power aspect, and that is a big point with the G220. Very
much so, and also as we're finding out now, certainly with lockdown, something has changed. Dressmaking is not so much, obviously before there we had all like sort of the weddings have all been cancelled, proms, bridals, all that time. So people are not dressmaking as much because we're not making the wedding dresses, the sort of the bridal for bridesmaids. Sorry, I've got to get my words out, for bridesmaids, and also for prom. The prom was where I'm actually trying to think of there. None of that has happened at all. So people are changing their sewing styles. And it's very much, it's going into soft furnishing, it's going into quilting and patchwork again, very big at the moment, free motion. The machine is not a problem to do all of that. But what people are finding at home, they've got their standard machine, they've been doing pretty much their normal dress weights on there, so they've been happy with it. They've not been changing threads, not been changing different really weights of fabrics or the type of sewing. But then when they are coming across and think, oh, let's even just something as simple as making a pair of curtains, or you would think it is only straight stitch. But because of the fabrics you're using a tougher fabric on there, you might be using linings, interlinings, heading tapes. So what I've got here is I've got a canvas fabric, so a nice sort of fabric there, which you would use like bag making, curtains, etc. We have a lining, so we've just got a cotton lining on there, and also then we've got a nylon heading tape, so very tough heading tape. So what I'm going to do is heading tape on, lining under, so we match it to the top, and then we fold the top over. So it was like how we would make a normal pair of curtains on there. And the thickness is not there, but again, you go to a lot of people try and sew that at home, and because of the toughness it's going through, the machine just bangs, or it's not feeding it through, so you have to help it through, so the stitches don't stay even. So one thing we have got on here, which I'll get to showing you properly in a minute, is the underbed trimmer. So a little pair of scissors, a picture of a pair of scissors on the front of the machine. I would just press that once, cuts the threads for me, cuts the threads top and bottom, brings the needle out of the work, so I can just take my work out. Fantastic feature, and it's something you use every time you sew on there. So just popping that under. We've got extra high foot clearance as well on the actual foot, so even for our thicker waddings fabrics that way, I've got nice clearance to get the fabrics
under.
It's the
attention to detail, and as a sewer you'll really appreciate those small little nuances.
Well, it's there when you end up trying to squash your fabrics under, and if you've also got to do that for starters, as soon as you start sewing it's going to automatically drag the top layers, so because therefore you've got to lose the straight away, because when you get to the end of your fabric it's going to be that ½ inch out already. So once it's clamped fully under, then all I do, just foot down. So even though it's going through all that different types of fabric with nylon, heavy weights, the machine itself doesn't change the sound. I'm not helping it at all. And then just away we go. It just glides through, absolutely no problems at all. I'll get to the end, underbed trimmer, cut the threads for me. So if we can now look on here. So I've tried to stitch it actually on there. I've just realised I can't see it at all there. So once we stitch it onto the cream, and we can turn it over there as well, and you can see even going through those thicknesses, it doesn't miss a beat at all. You can hear the machine wasn't banging, it wasn't straining. I didn't have to help it through at all on there. But what we're going to do is that one step further, because when you get to the edges and you get to the corners, and it's certainly something with also bag making as well, where you're using handles, where you're folding layers of fabric, you might be using nylon webbing. So what I'm going to do with that, I'm actually going to fold that in half again. So now we've got basically
now we're rolling.
Real thickness on there. So to be fair, that's only something you would do on a bag handle or something like that. So it's still very tough, but it's still not over thick, to be fair. It's just something that will really, a machine will struggle and bang going through. Where with this, straight through again, not touching anything at all. Straight away, as you can hear, the machine itself doesn't change a beat. I still don't have to push it through, help it through. Let the box feed system just feed it, take it through automatically for me. To the end, press the scissors. And again, as we can now see that on here, so the thickness is there. You've got really tough fabric, and the stitch is still perfect. So even though we've doubled it up, so we've gone from 2 layers of fabric to 4 layers of fabric into 8 layers of fabric.
Hasn't missed a step.
And to me, that's the sound. That's what I want to put through it, because that's what tells me how the feed is reacting, also how strong the needle bar system is, because on some machines, when they start looking at the size of motors and things like that, you can have a big motor in it, but if you haven't got the sewing system to go with the motor, it doesn't matter how big the motor is, if you've got a weak sewing system, that's it. Right. It can actually cause more damage having a stronger motor to a weaker system.
And the motor system in here is the same as the motor system in the NX7.
That's right, yeah.
So that's massive.
Absolutely. So even though you go to the bigger machine, on here we have still got full box feed system with the same motor, so the sewing system is there. So even though it's on the G series, which is our, I'm not going to say our basic, but more of our sort of starting introduction into that Juki quality, you don't lose that power. Nice. You've got the strength there. So what
we can do, Gary, is very quickly, just for anyone who tuned in, give you a reminder of the one-day special. And we are so proud to be able to offer you the Juki G220, an exceptional machine. If you are looking to upgrade, if you're looking for a first machine, and so often we hear that viewers go onto the Juki and they might even buy a Juki as a second machine and say this is the only machine we use. Points to really draw your attention to and I know a lot of people like to know that what you're getting within the machine, because what you can't see is inside it's got a full metal chassis. Juki is built to last, and I really mean that, and I know it sounds very selly-telly, but genuinely the build quality on a Juki is exceptional. These machines are built to last, and what you get with Juki, they don't want to throw everything at a machine. What they want is a machine. What the Juki G220 does, it does exceptionally well. So rather than giving you thousands of stitches, you get 150 stitches, which is, I mean, 150 stitches is a lot of stitches, but just as a workhorse, and Gary and the whole team, we had a meeting before the start of the show, and I think that's the best way to describe this machine. It will be the workhorse of your craft room. It's got the strength, the power, the features to tackle any project, from dressmaking to quilting to, if you wanted maybe home furnishings, you can do everything. Bag making, you can do it with the Juki. We've got a really special price on the show as well, so you are saving £83. You've got the 3 Flexi Payments as well, interest-free, £298.66 today. We send everything out to you. Something I did want to discuss with you, Gary, is you're also getting some feet in here as well. So within the accessories, and also a hard case too.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the accessories.
So right, well certainly as you can see we've got a nice selection. It comes with your standard utility foot, but it comes with your buttonhole foot attachment.
Perfect.
So it comes with your overlocking foot. So it comes with also my blind hem attachment on there, and then we've got our patterning foot for our letting and creative sewing, and also then we have our zip foot. So it's not over the top with what it comes with. It comes with your selection of feet for all your basic sewing, your dressmaking, and say your buttonholes on there. Obviously it comes included as well with the large extension table, so that really gives you that extra nice platform. And then once that's off, you've also then got your free arm facility, which also then comes with your accessory tray, which then goes on.
Oh, nice.
To then give you the smaller flat arm on there, flat bed.
Looks good.
Handle built in, so again it is a portable machine. You have got an 8-inch arm on here, so again it's not a long arm, but it is that semi-long arm.
Now we need to talk about this, because I know now we're describing it as a semi-long arm. That's only because machines over the years, the arms have got longer and longer. That used to be a long arm machine, or classed as a long arm machine.
Up until a few years ago, you got to most machines which had a 4 or 5 inch arm, and the 5-inch ones were classed as the nice size, having the larger. The G series, we come out with the 8-inch arm on here, but now obviously with our bigger models with the NX, we've then got a 12-inch arm on there. Obviously some people find that too much. Obviously this just about fits on this workstation as well on here. So sometimes you don't necessarily want to go too big. But obviously we have got the higher rolling area as well. So still for double quilts,
quilting,
not a problem at all.
And that's important as well. With quilters, I know a lot of quilters, the big thing is you'll send quilts away to be quilted, to be finished off.
That's right.
With a machine like the G220, you won't want to do that. And I know sending a quilt to get quilted, you're paying hundreds of pounds.
Oh, hundreds of pounds, that's right, yeah.
So as a quilter, having a sewing machine that can definitely tackle those bigger projects, you've got the joy of doing it as well.
Pleasure of completing your own projects rather than somebody else does it.
So you've got to think, 2 or 3 quilts. So say 1 or 2 years down the line, the amount that you've saved on your actual quilts being sent away. I've just got to give you the details here, 365448, your item number. Again, with this one-day special, I fully understand this is not an impulse purchase, it's a considered purchase. So you might have been waiting to upgrade or get your first machine. A lot of people have come to crafting over the last 16 months. There is, and it's internationally, so many brands have been struggling, so many people have been struggling to get hold of sewing machines.
Oh, absolutely. We've all been, and they say it's not just Juki ourselves, it's the whole industry, say, is really, really busy.
And it's because of the supply chain. It's the components coming in and just the nature of the last year.
That's it. It's literally the whole nature, right from manufacturing components, supplying components, then obviously putting those components together on there. But also, though, certainly within this level of machine as well, once you go to that higher quality, then this is where we're having more problems getting hold of machines, because this is what people are moving on to. Since they've been sewing at home a lot more. They've been growing out of their smaller machines. They've been great as an introduction, got them started, but as you say, once they've started doing heavyweight fabrics or really involving themselves into, it's nothing better than just having a machine that works well, something you enjoy using, and that's what people are really appreciating. Then going to that Juki level of quality, the better feats. It's not necessarily more designs, more patterns, more computerization, nothing like that whatsoever. To be fair, we've actually taken it a step backwards, and we're on the sewing system here is completely mechanical. There's no electronics in that at all, and that's something we do pride ourselves on, because once you start putting too much computerization within the sewing system, that's when obviously you can end up having problems with different threads and fabrics on there. A good leveling system is the same as all of our industrial machines, which are completely mechanical. It's not computer aided at all. It doesn't need to be. It's just a sign of being built very well, and then having the right feed system and pressure system on there.
Just want to tell you all, just moving away from the Juki for one moment, the G220, now we do have the Overlocker 2. Now I need to talk to you about this because we didn't have a huge amount of stock of the Overlocker. Same situation, I know that you're waiting for stock to come across. You do not have that stock, and all our stock at the moment, we only had a few of the Overlockers left. At the moment, our stock is technically sold out. We knew we didn't have a lot of machines, so we had a handful of machines. All the machines are currently sat in baskets. If you've got it in your basket right now, if you've been waiting for this machine, my advice, and I would never force anyone to check out, I hope you've done your research, you know this machine for you. I've done shows with Gary on this very machine. I know how good it is. So if you're looking for an exceptional overlocker, you've also got the 10,000 meters of thread in there as well. If it's in your basket, check out. If any machines bounce back, then I will let you know. But as I say, once all the machines people have checked out, we're not getting hold of anymore. We know we cannot get hold of anymore, and everyone's struggling. They're struggling. You guys don't have
again,
any.
we can't even give you a date of when they're coming back in again. I know we've even let you down a couple of times where we've been promised. That's the important bit,
So Juki don't even know when they're going to be able to offer this back. So right now, for those lucky few that have got the Overlocker in their basket, I check out. That's my humble opinion, but you know, I'll never force you into doing that. Okay. Right, now, going back to the G220. So, as a machine, let's see some more features. Right. I want to see.
So, literally, we've just switched the machine on. Obviously, we've wound the bobbin up, just set it ready to go. What I do emphasise on this machine, and it's two ways of looking at it. Computerised machines are fantastic. I love computerised machines. You can have so much fun with them. You can play with them, the creative side and that. But for general sewing, it is not needed whatsoever. You do not need computers in a sewing machine. This is really not a computerised sewing machine. I will say that. It's an electronic controlled machine. So I can't upload, I can't download, I can't wipe its memories, I can't suddenly put something somewhere and never find it. So as a peace of mind to people out there, having the electronic control makes it so much easier. So instead of turning a multiple of dials and trying to get them lined up and get them correct on there, as soon as I select a stitch, one of my stitches from underneath here, the first two buttons are up and down in my tens, so I can choose my first digit. My second buttons are up and down in the single digits. So literally, as soon as I choose a stitch, so for instance 03 is my zigzag, it will then set the width for me, set the length for me. It will suggest then what foot to use, so it gives me all the information on screen. A
nice size of display. One thing I'm noticing, Gary, the buttons, the size of display, everything's very easy to use.
This is one thing. This is it. Well, when they start to develop machines, and I notice, and it's not just sewing machines. If you look in some modern cars, if you look in some modern TVs, the buttons are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. But they're trying to make it look a bit high tech and all of that. This is a practical machine. We don't want to hide anything. Your main using buttons are the size of your finger. If you press it, you know you've pressed it. You've not accidentally slipped off and pressed something else you're not realising on there. And we've got a nice light LED in there as well. So it really does give sort of a good backlight of the features, so it's easy to see. But also, if we notice, we've got a start-stop button. At the moment, that's red.
Right.
And the reason with that, it won't actually allow you to do anything wrong. So if something is not set correctly, if you press it, it will just refuse to work. So again, it looks after itself that way for you. So what we're going to do is let's just try a couple of different stitches on here. And first of all, if I just go to 09, which is then one of my buttonhole stitches. In here, I do have 7 different styles of buttonholes.
You've got 08 there.
I've got 08, thank you, and 09 on there. So with that, with the different buttonholes, again, if I want to do tailoring, I've got keyhole buttonholes, again, bag making, things like that. Instead of using sort of zips, putting buttonholes on the back, using sort of envelope backs, etc. for cushions. So buttonholes are not now just for garment making, it's used on many, many different things. So having the variety on there, it just gives you a bit more chance to have a little play and more chance that you are probably going to use them because they're not standard. There's something a bit different and they're very, very easy to do. So the buttonhole foot, which is this attachment on here, again, a lot of people would have seen this before where just pull the back out and then whatever size button I've got, and here's one I had earlier, that will then just go into the back of the foot and it will then just gauge it to the size of the button for me. So again, nothing really new on that side. Press the little button on the back, the feet just clip on and off, so it's nice, easy changing feet.
Nice, easy.
And that will then just line up underneath to the bar and that will just clip it into place just to collect it on there. So what I'm going to do, first of all, notice I'm not just using a folded piece of cotton, calico, or anything. This is a proper wool, nice, real heavy wool fabric. So this is the sort of things obviously you're going to be doing buttonholes on. So whether it's sort of a nice tailored jacket or something like that, which I've chosen this because it's one of the tougher fabrics to use. You know what I mean? I don't like to use easy fabrics. And it's not then just a double fold, it is a triple fold. So it is that proper band.
I mean, that's a good demonstration of the quality of the machine.
So again, this is how you are going to properly do that. So you've got then different layers on the inside where you've got that triple fold. So it's going to go from 3 to 2 to 3. So you're not just stitching over the same thickness of layers each time as well. And then popping that under. Then literally just on there. Then so I've got number 9 on, got the buttonhole foot on, that light is still red. So it means I still have not done something. So I press that, it will now come up and it's flashing that the buttonhole lever with an arrow next to it. So it's just a lever I pull down from the back. Once that's pulled down, the light is now green.
If it is red, it tells you the issue as well.
Or it basically indicates the issue rather than tells you. That's right. So yeah, because obviously some machines will actually come up with words on there. This will just flash the bit it's not happy with. So on there. So now it's happy. It's all green. I can set it to the speed I want, but what I want it to do is also cut the threads when I've finished. So using this button here, just press that. I'm actually going to now unplug the foot control.
Wait, can we set up like with other machines, Juki machines shows we've done, where you can set up a sort of parameter? Can we do that with this?
With the...
You know, you're saying so it will cut at the end or...
That's it. This one, you can do parts of it. So this one now, this one, the setting at the end will now cut the thread, or it will tie the stitch off and it will then cut the threads for me. So, and bring the needle out of the work. So what I'm going to do, so I've unplugged the foot control because using the start-stop button, I can just let the machine do it. It will keep it at the constant speed as well. So it's, because I'm not speeding up and slowing down, it's not going to change the feed. So therefore the stitches, sometimes when you're sewing, you speed up, you slow down. If it hits then different parts of the fabric.
Done already?
Done, finished.
What?
There, just while I'm talking on there. And on here, you can see I've done a very, very tiny buttonhole.
That's a tiny one.
And that is absolutely on there. That was obviously not to the size of the button, but it just gives you those options on there of me making a mistake, and I'm going to talk away and get it. It will do tiny buttonholes, which a lot of machines won't like. But if I put that back under again, and then with this, I'm actually then going to start the foot in the right position, which alas I didn't do, and it's my fault. I am standing at an awkward angle. So this time I'm going to put it back under again. I'm going to make sure the lever is in the right position on there, and then away we go again. So
but
this
being
time,
able to take on those tougher fabrics as well, because I didn't know this about Katie, our producer. She likes to make her own clothing.
That's right, yes.
And she says sometimes she struggles when she's working with, because say she likes to use a heavier material for say undergarments or something, and she says her machine might struggle. You won't get that with this machine.
No, that's exactly it. So again, with that, it's taking the hard work out of it, but it's not only just takes the hard work out of it, it gives you perfection as well. So if you can see the quality of the buttonhole,
So why did the other, what happened with the first one?
The one when I was on the wrong angle, when I pulled it down in front of a little bar instead of behind the bar, so it triggers it off too early. It doesn't cause any damage, it's just that I didn't see it. So
that's okay. Live TV at an angle, you're forgiven.
So thank you. But again, then once that's done, it will give you that perfect buttonhole finish, the density, the width. Even though it's preset it all, I can still override that if I want to, but when it's that quality, you really don't need to on there.
So who do you think this machine will appeal to, Gary?
Well, those people who enjoy their sewing, the people who just have got a nice variety of stitching, so whether they're doing a little bit of home deck and they're struggling a bit with their machine they've got at home, or they're just not happy with the performance, or when they come up to do certain fabrics, they're probably looking at it and think, I don't know if I want to do this, I don't know if I want to put it over, it's not going to cope with it, it's going to damage the machine, or the stitch quality is not going to be there.
Yeah.
This just takes it to a really another sewing level on there. Just as you can hear, even using it, it's just so nice to use. There's some things you don't need in life, but there's some things it's a pleasure to have in life, and we all know it, whether it's a nice car, or something we actually sit and use, then you will feel it. Even though they will all do the same job, you can just tell there's a difference in the way they're built, and sometimes it's more of a pleasure. And then with something like that, because of just how nice it is, it's just more of a pleasure to use.
In the past, we've described, and I think this is a really good analogy, it's Gary's analogy, so I've got to give him credit for this, but he was saying we can, and we do this periodically, so I was looking at upgrading my phone, and a new phone will cost you anywhere, I mean, if you go for the top of the range flagship phones, they're about 700 to $1,000 just for a phone. For a phone that you'll use for a couple of years and then you might upgrade, and we all do it, we're all guilty of this. So getting a machine, this isn't going to last you 2 years. These machines, the Juki machines, you've kind of said, and I love this description, back in the day you would buy machines or you'd buy TVs and they would last. You know, they wouldn't fail, you'd end up probably giving them away or just not using them, but they just carried on and on and on.
Absolutely.
And we've gone to a system now, modern day and age, where I had a flat screen TV, it lasted 6-7 years and then broke. You never got that in the past. The Juki as a machine, it's got the build quality of machines from yesteryear, the machines that just carried on working.
It's got that construction higher level on there. So this is where what we wanted, and this is where people really appreciate with Juki, and again, it's fantastic over these years, the reputation it's got for home sewers, it's been phenomenal, it really has been, because it's not just me, obviously here on TV, you guys, when you hear it, you see it, it sounds like nothing you've really sort of heard before, but it's not just me here, standing here saying that. When people, obviously, you know, we've done quite a few machines together on here, and the testimonials we get, the praising here, so it's not just us saying it, because I do feel if I'm here, and then if I'm not telling the truth, obviously when people get the machine home, they're sending it straight back. And obviously we don't want this, definitely, but also the reputation of Juki, we definitely don't want that as well.
But it says it all, I mean, the quality of Juki. Right, we're going to have a very quick recap, then get back to Gary. What you're getting with the one-day special, and it really does live up to the billing. It's a phenomenal machine. So this is your Juki G220. As a machine, it is going to be an absolute workhorse for you. You've got a full metal chassis. Everything in this is built to last, and I'm going to keep labouring that point because it's so important. Sometimes it's a false economy when you do get a machine. I understand this is a considered purchase, but when you buy a machine, so you could buy a machine slightly cheaper, but then you get what you pay for. So components within that machine, there might be plastic, you're not getting the full metal chassis. In the end, it starts to go wrong. If you're servicing the machine, how much does that cost? If things go wrong, if you're just not enjoying using it, the fact that you've got a motor in here, it's the same power, the same motor that you have in the NX7, which I'm going to show you in a moment, and that is a high-end Juki machine. So that gives you an indication, it's a statement of intent. What this sewing machine does, it is built to do exceptionally well. What I will say to you right now, and I know, and we always have this with any sewing machine show, and I get this, we've got a lot of machines in baskets right now. Totally understand that. I am absolutely not going to force you to check out. I want you to be happy. Do your own research. If you've got a tablet or a smartphone, research Juki. See reviews on the actual Juki G220. It's an exceptional machine, so I'm confident that not just on our site, have a look around, but also have a look around as well. one thing is a lot of companies are struggling to provide the Juki, to offer you the Juki. So we're very lucky to have the Juki as a one-day special. Not only that, here at the craft store, we're spreading the cost for you. So your first payment is $298.66. You're saving, and that is interest-free. So $298.66 today, and then you're spreading the cost. So this month, $298.66, and then you're spreading the cost over 3 months. You've got 2 more payments. You're saving £83. You're getting the table, the extension table, which is so handy. So if you are a quilter, this will change how you quilt. Not just the table, the actual machine, it's the quality, the smoothness, the purring, the fact that it's able to take on those big jobs. You've got your feet, so you are getting some additional accessories in there with the feet, the buttonhole in there as well. So all the components that you'd expect from a quality sewing machine of this nature. You're also getting the instruction manual too, so you get things printed off, and we're getting the CD-ROM as well?
It comes with a DVD. I will say it's actually a DVD rather than a CD-ROM, because in the past we have had it where people have tried to use it as a CD-ROM and then returned it saying it's faulty, but it is a DVD.
So you put it in the DVD player?
DVD player,
Brilliant.
indeed,
Okay.
so that all comes with it as well.
Got hard case.
Yep,
and it's
solid cover with it as well.
Yeah, so I mean, it's little points like that. Not to get, and this is something that Gary's going to be explaining more throughout the course of the one-day special. We've already done it this hour. So things to point out, this is why we invest in a Juki. It is that build quality. You've got the box feed system. Now that's important, and it's something as a non-crafter you will not be able to appreciate. You can't gauge it just from the look of the machine, but having the box feed system, so Gary's explaining, rather than an elliptical system that a lot of domestic machines offer you, box feed is more a system that you get industrial. So you've got that system where it's got more contact, so the box feed system's got more contact with your fabric, so you're not going to get as much problems as you would with the elliptical system. The display impressed me too, and do pay attention to this when we go back to Gary. It's the size of the display, the buttons as well, so you're not going to be struggling to see the buttons. You can see, just put my hand into shot, a nice wide display. You've got all the utility stitches that you would want as well, and decorative stitches, so 150 stitches within the machine. Right, 365-448 your item number. Can I just say, if it is in your basket right now, if there is any hesitation, any questions, and I genuinely mean this, please send us a message. Don't be shy. If you don't want us to read out your name, don't worry, won't read out your name. Don't have to put your name. But just any questions. If there's something like, I want to go for this machine, but please, please email. We want to hear those buts. Gary will answer those buts to 365-448 your item number. It's a good machine. Anything from Juki and made by Juki, it's a very good machine. Speaking of which, maybe you want to go for the big brother to the G220. This is the NX. NX7 is a machine that I've done a lot of shows with Gary, and it's always busy. Okay, this is a special machine. Got to tell you, with the NX7, once it's gone, it's gone. We cannot get hold of any more stock. Like, for instance, I was telling you with our overlocker as well. NX7, you absolutely get what you pay for. And you see, I know that that is a considered purchase, and I don't expect anybody to just be channel hopping and say, oh, okay, I'll put the NX7 into my basket. But it really is a good machine. We've done a lot of shows with Gary and the NX7. Just going to point, and Gary played a big part with the accessories. So you're getting £200 worth of feet in here. Gary, can you just, I think it's worth discussing this, because you know sometimes you get bundles, say with a sewing machine, foot bundles, but you specifically hand-picked the feet in this.
Indeed. With the machine, automatically you get a huge amount. So in the box you've got there, that's what comes as standard.
Yeah, sorry.
So you get there. So the feet in front, to be fair, that's probably, I think that's a third of what feet come with it extra as well. So with a lot of offers, bundles, then they might give you like a thread package or a foot package or something like that. And usually, oh, we've got a lot of this, that'll do, put that with it. Yeah. But not for myself, what I like, obviously we work in, we've got shops, we've got the classrooms, we do all the shows as well. There's certain feet I get asked for, there's certain feet I do not get asked for. And what I won't do is put some feet, obscure feet with the machine. So the feet I've chosen are the actually top 10 feet I get asked for, or which I've sold throughout the year.
Wow.
So invisible zip foot, #1 without a doubt. Bias binder, #3 I think on the list on there. Narrow zip foot for piping, #2. So it's not just a range of any old feet, it's my top selling feet.
And you really
which I
know what you're talking about just listening to you here.
Thank you. Yeah.
You
Well,
do.
again, I deal with the domestic side, with the industrial side, but I interact and I deal with home users all the time, the end user side, end users all the time. I love the phone calls, I love the questions. Honestly, we're there to help at Juki. It's not just a matter of a face and that's it, goodbye.
No.
We've obviously got our
There's
own
a
classrooms,
good
our own
support system.
engineers, a good
And that's all
support
coming back
system.
now after, I know in lockdown that kind of it had to be put on hold for a bit.
Yes,
but
we was always on the end of the telephone,
Yeah.
with FaceTime, with emails, and mail order. We were always continuous because of how busy the sewing industry was. And I mean, if we did shut down, we'd probably have more machines a day than what we would have done. But obviously now we are slowly back over the retail side, the shops, the classrooms. Hopefully are going to be opening again very soon. So the backup service is there.
Just got to tell you, we do not have a lot of stock here, and once that's gone, we cannot get hold of any more. So I'm just putting that out there. Things to point out, because I know the majority of our focus this hour is going to be on the one-day special. We might look at the NX7, another, maybe at 8, if we still have stock, and that's the big thing. So you've got the 3 flexi payments. What I will say to you very quickly, because I've done a lot of shows with the NX7, so things to point out. Now here, if you have a look at the height, so the length of the arm, as well, but also under here, that's all illuminated. You've got a beautiful flood of light. So in the past when I've worked with Gary and you've done this whole area has been illuminated. So you've got a great light source. Look at the height as well from that arm. So if you are a quilter, this is designed for quilters. You've got a lot of space to roll your quilts as you're working with them. You have the box feed. You also have the system, and this is something the G220 does to a degree. The NX7, obviously at this price point, takes it to the next level. You're able to set your machine. So you set the parameters of how you like to sew. You input those parameters in your machine, and then with your sewing pedal, by pressing down, well, I'll let you explain, Gary, because like one touch, it will then trigger a sequence.
That's it. So you can tailor make it to your type of sewing, because different types of sewing would want different finishes on there. So I can have it, so with a it's got a 2-point foot control on there. So you've got your foot control with all variable speed as normal, but then you have a separate button. That button, I can have it so it controls needle up, needle down. I can have it control auto foot lift up and foot lift down. I can have it controlled so it then ties it off at the end of my stitch and at the beginning of my stitch. I can also have it in it so it cuts my thread.
Right.
But I can also combine all of those as well. So not just one of them, I can have it so it cuts thread, lifts foot and lifts needle at the same time. I can have it so it then pivots. So if I don't want it to lift or cut the threads for me, and I'm just constantly pivoting for patchwork and quilters, I can have it so it does that. Also, I can then override the foot control, and I can have it so it does it automatically every time. So instead of me telling it by using a foot control button or a button on the front of the machine, I can have it so as soon as it stops, it will automatically pivot. I can have it so it stops with the foot up, foot down, needle down. But again, it's that personal programming, and this is what we've tailored from our industrial machines. And that's why if you look on the screen on the NX, it's very different to most other screens, because that is lifted straight from an industrial machine. That screen is. It's not new, even though it's a newish machine. It's a well tried and tested screen on there. So you can then just tailor make your sewing. And the nice thing about that, unlike with the smaller models in the G series and that, where I can play around with thread trimmers, the automatic finishing and things like that, this is a step program. So every time I want it, I will program it to do it. I can actually set that machine and store it for specific types of sewing.
There's so much this machine can do, and we will look at it in more depth during the course of One Day Special if we manage to keep our stock. Say we do not have a huge amount of stock here. What I will say, it's a considered purchase. Understand that, and the same with the One Day Special. And I know a few of you, so I'm speaking to those of you right now who've got this in your basket. If you've got a smartphone, if you've got a tablet, this is what I would be doing. Do your research. See how much it is elsewhere. Remember, we've got the Flexi Payments here at the craft store, interest-free. Have a look at the reviews. Don't just take our word for it. see the reviews. We've got reviews on our website. I'd be looking at those. I'd be looking at the reviews elsewhere. All the reviews on our website are left by viewers who have bought the machine or bought any products. They're all honest reviews, because that's one thing I worry about. Sometimes, you know, when you see reviews of places, you're like, well, are these genuine reviews? All our reviews are genuine reviews left by viewers. So here, with the NX7, fantastic machine, brilliantly easy to follow instructions, great results every time, 5-star review. 5-star review here. I love my machine, excellent for the work that I want it to do. Another 5-star review, fantastic machine, does everything and more, still getting to grips with all the capabilities, love it. These are viewers who've purchased the NX7, and we have, I know that from emails when we've done live shows and testimonials of people who bought the machine, absolutely rave about it. Do your research, but it is a very good machine, and we do not have a huge amount of stock there. We're going to get back to our one-day special. We've got about 10 minutes left, Gary, so what would you like to show us?
Okay, so well, while we've got the feet out, so again, sort of more of that basic style of sewing, but just how the performance, even when it comes to the basic overlocking and blind hemming, and so we've seen how easy the buttonholes are and precise. Then overlocking. So on the stitches on here, then we have got then 06, which is one of my favourite overlock stitches. So as soon as I program that in, it will then suggest what foot to use as well. So on there it's got foot C. So on the actual, you're probably never going to see this on the camera because it's silver on silver, but it is a letter C just in there, on there. So again, it obviously relates to what the machine's telling me. And then the idea with the overlock foot, it gives me a guide. So instead of overlocking either in your fabric, so it doesn't ruck the edge of your fabric and then you have to cut up to it, I can overlock directly over the edge of the fabric, just by the fabric up against the guide. And the actually overlock foot's got a bar in, so it tensions the stitch. So instead of causing a ridge down the edge of your fabric, it comes out perfectly flat again. So again, just those little finishes there, it gives it more of a professional finish. So not everybody wants an overlocker or can justify or afford going to an overlocker, but they're at home with their very zigzag or just normal zigzag stitch. They're probably a bit frustrated the actual finish it's giving you is not particularly professional. So all I'm doing is I'm just feeding the fabric down the side of the guide. As you can see, I'm not holding the fabric, I'm not forcing it. It's taking it through very, very well itself on there. Let the machine do the work for you. And that's the same as applies to all sewing. The less input you have, the more continuity you're going to get from the machine, and it should be therefore the better quality as well. So let's get that to the end and finish there. And then get to the end, I'm just going to manually thread trimmer, cut the threads, bring the needle out of the work, and then I'm just going to take that up. So if we can see this on here, on the edge here, that, if you used to look at that as an overlock stitch, that is such a professional stitch on there compared to a varied zigzag. And you can see it's flat, it hasn't ridged the edge of my fabric at all, but also it has seamed it and overlocked at the same time. So because it's giving me that reinforced straight stitch. So I didn't match my plaids up, that's a bit naughty of me, I know.
Okay.
But that, as a professional overlock finish, again out of a sewing machine, is absolutely fantastic on there. So it's those little things that, again, it just stops frustration, or it's nothing. If we've made something at home, whether it's out of fabric, whether it's out of wood, whether it's out of metal, we want the finish. We want it to look like we haven't just sat there and made it by hand. And then having a machine that's going to give you those professional finishes that quick and easy is absolutely brilliant. And obviously the attachments to go with it, which makes life easier as well.
Well, we've got about 6 minutes left, Gary, so what else can you show us?
Yeah, so on that is one of the key things is what the machine coats with, how well. Obviously we've done some heavyweight fabrics and that as well, but I know the nice thing about it, I think I've got on at 8 o'clock as well, so we've got another hour to hopefully show some more bits and pieces. But from what we were doing with the heavyweight fabrics, this is chiffon, very light, very fine, moves, slips all over the place. So all I'm going to do is a side seam on a chiffon, so I'm just going to put it onto 0, 0, which is then just my normal straight stitch. Pop that under, put the normal foot back on first.
Good catch.
Oh, thank you. That's slipping away. So let's put the normal foot back on there. And then, so literally, very fine shear, pop that under. So again, anything like this, even for the table for very slippery fabrics, the more support you can give your needle, the less chance of it's going to sort of pull to one side. And then, so straight away, through, I've adjusted no tensions, no foot pressures.
Oh yeah?
Again, I'm not exactly going to helping it, I'm not taking it easy, just going to keep that straight so it supports it there.
So smooth as a machine, and this is what you get with Juki. It's the calling card of a Juki, is the smoothness.
So it's one of those fabrics that most people will try and avoid it. So if we have a look on there, so we can see the seam, absolutely, as I say, that is a very fine shear, and it has absolutely coat. But if I open the seam up, which is the key thing, there is absolutely no puckering at all inside the seam.
That's a test.
That is, to me, those are the true tests. All machines can offer you a variety of stitches to play around with zigzags, your satin stitches on that, but 90% of people sewing is usually straight stitch. So I want to know, it doesn't matter what piece of fabric I pick up, whether I'm doing curtaining, whether I'm doing shears, chiffons, or whether I'm just doing, even for things like upholstery, sort of vinyl, velvets. Velvet is one of those horrible fabrics because the way it moves and slides.
Does the box feed really help here?
It really does. Again, because you're not just catching the centre, it's travelling a full distance. So even when I'm going to sew this, I'm not going to use a walking foot at all or anything like that. I'm just going to pop that under. So run that through again. So straight away, it feeds it. It's not catching at all. It's not sticking. And this is the thing with velvet, because of the pile on there, we can often twist the fabric.
Yeah.
So if we open that again on the inside for that seam, like so, and we can see on there. So again, absolutely perfect. There is no puckering, there is no pulling, and that's, say, on the velvet on there. So obviously, you know what I'm like.
Velvet,
I do
chiffon,
like,
you know, these are a lot of fabrics
furnishing.
that people will shy away from because they are traditionally very hard to work with.
But this is why I like to use these fabrics as well, because it's, so I say, we're all live. There's sort of nothing worse on that. I'm picking something out where you think, oh no, I'm going to be frightened to use this, and you've got to be so fragile with it. I know I can just pretty much pick up any piece of fabric, pop it under, and the machine likes it.
And did you have to change any settings? So when you went on your sort of upholstery fabrics, that wool to the velvet to chiffon, did we change anything?
No, literally foot pressure self-adjusting, so it's got their extra high clearance on it as well.
Yeah.
So for the real thicker fabrics, no problems. But as you say, it just undulates, goes over the thickness. So whether I was going through the head intake, we're sort of through multiple layers, even when I double folded it as well, right to the fine shears, even to the wool fabrics, I've touched no settings whatsoever. Just let it do its work. But that's what a good machine should do for you.
Yeah.
Because again, all this talk about automatic this or computerised this, basically a lot of that is false information. A good machine, and then I'm going to hark back to my industrials again, all mechanical, but a good quality mechanical is better than anything. So yeah, and that is exactly why it can go from one to the other. It will keep the pressures even, and it doesn't, the thickness of the fabric technically shouldn't matter. It's the machine that's undulating, it's the machine that's controlling itself. So the piece of fabric should be irrelevant. So the stitch should say even whether I'm going through thick, thin, jersey, stretch, it should say perfectly the same.
You've been an absolute star, Gary. Thank you so much. Time's beaten us, but we'll be back at 8 o'clock.
Indeed, yes, I am. Thank you.
So any more questions, please get them in. Gary will be returning at 8. This is our one-day special. Now, this is a limited one-day special in the sense that we're launching today. We've got it at 8 o'clock, and then we'll have it at 12 o'clock tomorrow. So please don't miss out. It is an exceptional machine. It really is a very, very good machine. You will not be disappointed. Do your research, have a look, read the reviews, see what other people are saying, see how much it is elsewhere, and you'll realise what a good price we have it on for.